You guys can't see it, but I have goosebumps right now. And it's not from that sweet-ass theme song, although that is a pretty sweet-ass theme song. It's actually because we're going to be covering Goosebumps, the children's book series that got turned into TV shows and later on movies as well, actually, relatively recently. I'm Spencer Hendricks. I'll be hosting these. This is the Boob Tube Boys. I've got Brian Vaughn. I've got Van Lee.
That's all you need.
We're all going to be talking about Goosebumps here today. We're going to be doing that this week and next. We're going to do the Cuckoo Clock of Doom today. That's right. That's what it's called. We had some weirder titles that we discussed in the bonus episode. So Cuckoo Clock of Doom is relatively normal as far as R.L. Stine titles go. And then next week, we'll be covering Be Careful What You Wish For.
You better.
A real vague title.
Yeah, not a good one. Not a good title. I have read both of these books. I think I mentioned this last week's episode when I was talking about what made me choose these. I have read both of these. I did, for whatever reason, as a child, like the Cuckoo Clock of Doom that we're going to be talking about today. I didn't really care for Be Careful What You Wish For. So I'll compare and contrast to the best of my ability when we get to the end of these.
Did you guys know anyone who referred to them as goose pimples? Not the books, but the actual physical thing?
Definitely. I encountered several people, perhaps 2 generations removed from me, who did use that phrase. I don't either. It sounds gross.
Do you guys know what actually goosebumps are? Like the phenomenon of them in your skin?
It's something to do with your hair warming you, but I don't know. Because it's also a thing that comes up when you're afraid. You don't need to be warm when you're afraid. So I don't know.
You might like to be.
I feel like I've learned this, but I don't know.
If you're cold and afraid at the same time, you might like to be warm.
See, I was actually going to look that up because I was curious, but then I thought it'd be better just to have this discussion cold. I didn't want to have that scientific information and ruin it and be like, actually, a goosebump is not a goose at all, or a bump. It's
all right, Seinfeld, cool it.
I like the idea that
Ovaltine.
I like the idea though that it's actually hair. They should call it hair bumps. It makes it sound so disgusting. But yeah,
not any worse than goose pimples.
Hair pimples.
Okay,
Ew.
I looked it up since we're at the end of that conversation, hopefully. And
I was going to transition, yes.
Goosebumps occur when tiny muscles in our skin's hair follicles, called erector pili muscles, pull hair upright. For animals with thick fur, this response helps keep them warm. Still, this ability to make goosebumps persists in humans and other animals that don't have enough hair to retain warmth. So it's one of those traits that we no longer need, but still have.
Yeah, so we see something like a ghost or a big dumb clock, and all of a sudden we think we're going to freeze to death. It's a weird receptor thing, probably, in the brain.
Brains are bad.
No, I think we need them.
Well, they're good, but they're bad. What they do.
They do bad things to us, yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite Goosebumps
I thought
book?
you say, do you have a favorite brain?
Not mine.
Monster Blood.
It's been too long.
Monster Blood for Van.
I really would like to go back and just read some randomly.
Wouldn't take you long at all.
No, as we discussed in the bonus one, it would take R.L. Stine all of 3 months from beginning to end for each one of these by the end. So yeah, there's not a lot to these. There's not a lot of substance. For the life of me, there are 62 original books, and that's included in the 2 that we made. I can't remember when I stopped reading them. I think I got like 30 in maybe. But by the time I got to middle school and like mid-90s, which is a little bit after the episode that we're covering today was released, they weren't really cool anymore. Plus, I was in a new school and starting middle school, and I was afraid I'd be made fun of for reading them.
You're probably more into Digimon.
I can't say ever
Animorphs.
that. So this show is a lot like Are You Afraid of the Dark? Did you guys say you had watched that? Because that's the Nickelodeon sort of like counterpart to this.
So weird thing here, yet again, not really. I've seen a couple.
Really?
Like I have seen a couple, but I'm strangely unfamiliar.
I figured you would be very familiar with it since, most Nickelodeon products right up your alley.
I'm just as surprised as you are.
I believe I think there are only like 2 or 3 seasons of that show. That means I've probably seen 2 seasons of it. So I've seen a lot.
It started a little before Goosebumps. I believe it was 92 and it went to like 97. Goosebumps was 95 to 98. So there was a small overlap. I think the consensus is that Are You Afraid of the Dark is better. Better produced and better acted, better written. But Goosebumps has its moments. It's the ones we talked about, they're a little silly. They're a little campy. Apparently some of them they're not necessarily scary, but they're scarier. And I'm kind of sad we didn't pick those, but I didn't know which ones were considered the ones that were top rated, so to speak. I just picked the books that I remembered. So
it's too bad one of them's not just like mortifying,
yeah,
like to where no one should have to watch
the
it.
haunted house one legitimately is pretty scary. Some of these, and the show rates well. Like people like it. People our age.
Yeah,
it's like a psychological horror. Kids, do you want to play a game?
Forever. Yeah, so it did run for 4 years, 74 episodes on Fox Kids, and again, it was pretty well received. It originally was a book series published by Scholastic, who really pressured R.L. Stine to write as many of these as he could once they started selling. So that's why they went on and became many different franchises that, how many did you say it was in the bonus? Like
235 total Goosebumps books written by someone that are technically Goosebumps franchise books.
Yeah, good God. So this thing just really it was so popular in the 90s. It's only recently that Harry Potter surpassed it in terms of children's series items sold. So Goosebumps was far and away the leader until recently, until Harry Potter with that. That's how crazy popular they were in the 90s. And it did make R.L. Stine, as I mentioned, just a complete millionaire upon millionaire. He is very rich from this book. From this book series, I should say.
I'll tell you the great story about Goosebumps, the books. When I was a kid, I loved reading, and I still like to read, but I was so into it. I told my mom, I was like, we got this chore chart at school. I'm going to put it on my door. Would it be okay if I did everything that I could get a book as a prize?
Yeah.
A little child asked for more books.
You should always indulge that.
Yes. And guess what? It didn't happen. I did all my chores for like 2 weeks. I was like, Mom, can I get a book? I want to get a Goosebumps book. Even though it's not, it's still reading. It's still a book.
Yeah.
And she was like, fuck no, I'm not getting you no Goosebumps
Did she
book.
agree to it initially and then renege? Okay,
yes.
That's no good. See,
she just wanted those fucking chores done. And that's why you still, to this day, are always filling out a chore chart and always asking me for books.
I thought you meant, that's why still to this day, you refuse to do any chores.
Because no one's giving you any Goosebumps for it.
Yeah, it's horseshit.
Yeah, we got shat on in elementary school for reading too many Goosebumps books. And I agree with Van. I mean,
I do too.
At least you're reading, it's something. But in 4th grade, our teacher was making fun of our whole group of boys in that class would all order the Goosebumps books out of there. And she was complimenting the girls for the stupid stuff they were getting. And she was like, oh, all the boys, all they ever do is read those Goosebumps books. And it's like, hey, at least we're enjoying the books and we're reading.
I would imagine like most adults now in education for a living would love it if children showed interest in reading, period. I know, even people our age have phased out reading in favor of just like, I'll see what someone just kind of said on Twitter.
Oh yeah. My idea of reading now is scrolling down Google News. If I open a book, if I open my tablet and get a PDF file that was made into a book, I will probably get about halfway in and then forget about it, is what I do anymore. So
take that, Little Women.
But halfway into anything else is enough to get all the way through a Goosebumps.
That's very true.
If you did want to read one.
And here's an example too. I know this is off the subject, and we'll get back to the cuckoo clock of doom soon.
Oh, it will find us.
I think that Goosebumps is a great example of something. Yet, why would you have that digitally? You need the cover so you could feel the goosebumps. You need to run your fingers over that. That's one of those things that I'm not a big fan of actual physical products. For the most part, I think everything should be digital. But I would argue that if you're gonna read Goosebumps, you should get the actual books. That's one of those things where I think that an actual book would be superior.
I've made this argument for music for a long time.
Yeah, you have.
That you should
get the actual music book.
The booklet though, with the lyrics and the credits and the little funny stuff and whatever else.
Yeah,
and the whole experience of the whole thing. And sometimes there's goosebumps on those too.
Like the Black Album had all those.
Yeah, all those goosebumps all over it.
I'm team ebook, but in this case, I definitely see it being something you'd want to own physical copies of. Now, I would accept that. I mentioned, I've been trying to kind of hint in real life, this is going to be too late soon. Like by the time that this actually comes out, Christmas will have passed, but it's about Christmas and our recording time. And if you guys want to get me Goosebumps for Christmas, that's fine. I'm just saying. I've thrown it out there before. I'll do it again.
Same thing. If you want to get me any Goosebumps or Babysitter's Club's book, something from that collection for Boxing Day. That's the
Boxing Day. Yeah,
specifically.
I am really sorry for another thing, guys. Not only did I not pick the scary episodes, I failed to pick the one with Ryan Gosling in it.
What?
Say Cheese and Die, starring a young Ryan Gosling.
That is incredible.
Yes, unbelievable, isn't it?
In my very brief looking at the IMDb page, the only actor I saw of note was Adam West, who was in like 1 or 2 episodes.
He was in, he did the voice in Attack of the Mutant, apparently, for the Galloping Gazelle or something.
Oh, great.
So he lended his voice talents to it,
Fucking
and Ryan Gosling was in one. And for the most part, the rest of them had at least some kind of career. That
this kid that plays Michael in the Cuckoo Clock of Doom,
John White.
he goes on to be Stifler in the American Pie direct-to-video sequel.
Oh, see, okay.
Yeah.
They recast Stifler? They didn't just get new characters?
I did
Well,
not
the
know
regular
that at all.
Stifler had other shit to do by then, probably.
Yeah,
he was in The Rundown.
I saw his name was John White, and I didn't look up any more about him. I was like, I would have remembered if someone with that bland of a name became anyone famous. But yeah, Ryan Gosling was in one. Actually, the girl, the sister in this, Tara, I think her name is Kristen Bone. She's a Canadian. She was in Mean Girls.
Oh,
So
wow.
She did something, you know.
Yeah.
And also,
I remember liking that movie, though I have not seen it in some time.
I was confused by this. She was born in 92. This was released in 95. So she is 3 in this, and she's supposed to be like 7 or something. So that whole part really threw me off.
She's a pretty good actor.
Yeah, she did a pretty solid job.
She's a real shit.
Fucking monster.
She's sadistic as fuck. So we'll get into the plot here of the first one. Let's see if I've covered all the overall notes of Goosebumps. It did win, by the way. It won an actual award. It won a Writers Guild Association award in 97 for Children's Script for this episode.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how much
interesting voting on that, I would imagine.
I don't know how much
to win an award.
I don't feel like the script was anything that special, to be perfectly honest. And the source material.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
When did this episode come out?
Came out in October of 95.
1995. When in October of 1995, do you think you could have written a better script at that time as like a 10-year-old?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Yeah,
I think
the script's
so.
nothing special. I mean, you have the source material to consider. So
yeah,
R.L. Stine takes part of the credit / blame for whatever this is.
Is R.L. Stine also actually in the credit sequence? Is that him?
There were some episodes he was in it.
2 of them, and this was one of them, where he, like, when he's walking across the grass with a briefcase.
Yeah.
So that was him in that. Okay.
Yes. I thought that's what you guys were talking about.
No, there's like 12 episodes where he sits
the
down
host, yes.
and introduces the
Correct,
episode.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
no, I was talking about the credit, the briefcase.
That's interesting because it's he's labeled the briefcase.
Yeah, it says R.L. Stine on it.
Oh, that's him, and that was only in a couple of the intros.
I bet he was fired up when that happened at the time to get his face on TV.
Well, the second the music hit and the second I saw the black figure with the briefcase walk, I went, oh my God, I have watched this show. I thought I hadn't at all. And in fact, I'll spoil it at this point. I watched this episode because I distinctly remember the end sequence with the kid climbing up the clock.
Did you watch it like when it was new?
When it aired.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
So
that's
you were
why I barely
10-year-old Van Lee, and at the time you weren't Van Lee, but 10 years old watching this episode.
You were straight up bumping at 10 years old.
I did not know this show existed when it was airing. I found out about it years later, but I didn't know, like, you know, Brian and I were freshly 11 at this point at the Cuckoo Clock of Doom episode.
What a time.
And I didn't know to watch Goosebumps on TV at all. So
I'm still living up my 10.
I don't know if I knew it was a show or not at that time, or if I just thought it was a book.
You were you made up your mind. You were not doing anything Goosebumps. You're not reading the books. You're not watching the shows.
I apparently took a stance.
Turned your back.
I just missed my window, guys. I missed my window until now.
I totally understand it. Having no younger Brian, I guarantee were like, this is beneath me. I'm going to read some novel by John Grisham.
It's time to read The Firm. It's inside my mom's piano bench.
Oh, that's right. Wow.
That was, by the way, one of the prerequisites for Brian reading a book as a child was, what did my mom put inside of the piano bench?
But you did say you remembered the covers, right? And thought they were really cool.
I would, any store I went to that sold Goosebumps, I would just
touch them,
pour over the covers. Yeah, touch them, read the backs, look at the little illustrations.
It's interesting that the covers are so memorable for people our age, especially. They're apparently a big deal. There were 62, like I said, in the original series. 60 of them were drawn by the same guy. It's a New Jersey artist. Let's see, I wrote his name down somewhere.
The other two were Bill Keaton, of Calvin and Hobbes fame.
Tim Jacobus. He did 60 of the 62, and his art style is very, very critically acclaimed. Is something that was, I guess, a big draw for some reason to kids. I guess kids like the way they look.
The whole product and the look of it, like the bright colors.
Yeah, the colors were a big part of it.
The font, even the oozing Goosebumps font.
By the way, one of the 2 books that he did not draw is the episode we're covering next week. That's weird.
That is very weird.
One of 62 is not very good odds. So.
The odds of hitting one of those.
Yeah. So
also, Bill Keaton was the drawer of what do you call him? Artist, I guess? Illustrator, there you go.
There we are.
Of Family Circus. So I got that wrong. Correction.
Oh,
folks.
so that is more.
At least you caught it, though. You're your own producer right now.
Well, yeah, it works out that way, especially when I understand that Billy used this path to get from A to B, and Grandpa's ghost didn't care for it.
Oh, it's so fucking funny and also terrifying, and whatever the opposite of life affirming is. I'm really surprised they never made a Family Circus TV show.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
With the general, I guess, I don't know, the general premise of Goosebumps out of the way there, we can actually talk about the Cuckoo Clock of Doom. Season 1, Episode 3. I mentioned this when I introduced that I was doing this show last week. I mentioned that I didn't even know if this counted as a TV show, but it does. It's a TV series. It's just, these are all self-contained episodes. There were people who were in multiple but they played different roles for the most part, except some of them were they did part 1 and part 2. I didn't want to do that because I figured that would take up too much content. I didn't want to talk about just one book. So we didn't pick the ones that had part 1s and part 2s and things like that. And I wanted to stick with the original series. So we were kind of limited in the scope of episodes to choose from. And this particular story, I read the plot last week. An eerie old clock in Michael and Tara's house has mysterious powers, and it's about to turn back the hands of time forever. And now we get to find out Michael and Tara. I'm just going to refer to Michael and Tara and then Michael and Tara's dad. I don't think I even know their names, their parents. So that's pretty much the only characters that we need to talk about.
I have Michael and Tara's dad down as Dork.
Oh, man. I have a whole thing I have to talk about the dad toward the end because he just started really annoying me by this episode's end.
Also, I don't know if you guys noticed this or why anyone would, but the big old dork dad, he refers to his daughter as Tara. While Michael says Tara.
Yeah, that is. I would think that they would have a consensus inside the family.
Yeah, they would have decided on
what her name is.
Well, fun fact: these were all filmed in Canada because it's so cheap to produce and make stuff there. So a lot of shows did this. So you hear the Canada slip out a lot.
Yeah.
At one point, I'm trying to think the word they said, but they're like, "Oh, hey, daughter, what are you doing out there?"
and Tara, who again is Kristen Bone, who later went on to Mean Girls, is Canadian. Many of the actors they got in this are Canadian.
Kristen Bone is a character from a Goosebumps book.
Didn't even have to change his name.
Oh man, I really enjoyed the entire process of researching this. So I know I put way too much just now into going into the behind the scenes
I think this
stuff.
was very enjoyable.
But the episode itself is not going to take long to recap, so it's
There's not much going on there.
Not a whole lot. The intro that we kind of got into is what starts it. Did you guys have any thoughts? Just the music and the scenes that happen there. The dog with the glowing eyes.
Song fucking rules.
It is a cool song.
There's that. I like that G's just floating around everywhere.
The note I put down was R.L. Stine's G-spot is turning the town evil.
There's a pile of worms.
Ooh, spooky.
And I thought that was cool.
Now, did you guys happen to see when you were looking into it that not only is that little 10-second part of R.L. Stine walking with the briefcase not in any of the others, but this and one other episode is the only one that the Goosebumps font is white at the beginning of it.
Oh, wow.
It's green the rest of the time.
Fun fact.
We really got to see some rarefied air.
I don't know how. It just kind of turned out that way. Yeah. What do you know? Cuckoo Clock of Doom. So following that pretty awesome intro, we get to see Michael, and weirdly, basketball opens both of our episodes.
Basketball is very important to what goes on.
Somehow. But Michael's dribbling down a road, just, I don't know where, near his house, apparently, dribbling down a road and kind of jamming out to... He's got earbuds in, but they couldn't have been like what we would know of as earbuds.
This has got to be just a Walkman he has. And he has like those little terrible headphones
so
that come with a Walkman.
So he's got the Walkman like stuffed in his pocket
that's what I did during this particular time period, is I'd shove it in my pocket where my pants could barely stay up, and then you have the little earbuds. Now, Michael's hat, would you describe it as forwards or backwards?
I can't even remember his hat. Honestly.
Oh, it's backwards.
I mean, it's a 90s thing, so it would have to be.
Super cool.
Michael is not very good at dribbling, so he quickly loses the ball into And I think this was supposed to be set in California, but I do think they shot a lot of it in Canada. But in any case, it's like wilderness. There's a bunch of trees, looks like a forest, and the ball is gone. So this is how the episode opens, as Michael is, with quite a bit of trepidation, might I add, wandering into the forest looking for his basketball. Ominous music plays. There's a trail of what appears to be blood that he has to follow.
Hey, what do you guys do when you see a pool of blood?
I shove my hand, or I shove my arm, preferably all the way up to the elbow, into whatever pool of standing blood I can find.
Yeah, you can let it run down your fingers, lick it a little bit.
All over me, bathe in it.
So he's in full-on investigation mode. He's following the trail of blood. And
if you couldn't tell by what I just said, he just smushes his whole hand into what he believes to be blood, and then still thinks it's blood.
He believes it. Yeah, it doesn't really look like blood. It seems to be dripping quite a bit for it to be blood. But in any case, he's on the prowl. He's going to solve this murder scene, I guess, is what he thinks is happening here, and also find his basketball.
Detective Michael on the case.
And instead, all he finds is his little brat sister, Tara, who's got some sort of prank. Was it like a dragon sock puppet or something?
Yeah, it really totally was. It was the least frightening thing you've ever seen in your life.
It scares the shit out of Michael.
Yeah, I think she did a little bit of hype before, with all the blood. She put some effort into that. And again, this is a 7-year-old kid doing this, so that's pretty impressive and sick that she's able to come up with this concept, even if it is a little bit dumb. But it works. Michael's scared. He's mad at her too. He says, what did I ever do to you? They clearly don't have a very good relationship. It's little sister, big brother sort of thing. I don't know who to side with at this point. Michael seems to deserve it. Tara seems to be crazy and a little bit psychotic.
You're just being a real credge about all of this.
I even specifically noted that. She calls him a credge and squirts him in the face with ketchup. Credge is jerk backwards, listeners, in case you didn't pick up on that. Tara's thinking a little bit on a different wavelength.
Is there an arsonist around? Because Michael got burnt.
I put down that once we find out, of course, it's not an actual dinosaur that got him. Instead, it's an army of the meanest 4-year-old children you've ever seen. These kids are fucking mean.
It's fucking Lord of the Flies stuff.
It really is.
Yeah, they all take quite a bit of delight in Michael's displeasure throughout this entire episode. Honestly.
Now, at this point, I don't think we have any reason to hate Michael, right?
No, he seems kind of like I don't imagine he has that many friends, is a nice way to say it.
He's just a milquetoast little boy.
Has a lot of different vest type options. He looks very, very 1995.
Definitely. So, yeah, no, you're right, though. There's no reason not to like him. It's just that there's no reason to like him. And Tara is very clearly a brat and very troubled. So that's all we know so far. And also she's manipulative because she runs home after this and convinces the mom that somehow Michael's at fault for all that.
And the parents, I guess, just do not understand the dynamic whatsoever and always believe Tara.
Well, Katie said that, and I don't know, you had a sibling, Brian. I guess you both had siblings, particularly
See, I didn't have
siblings.
A younger one like Brian did. So Brian can tell us all about this.
Katie said that her little sister was just like Tara in that she would do something horrible, run to the parents and be like, Katie's doing this. I'm so innocent. And the parents bought into it.
It is easier as the younger sibling for sure, I think.
Well, I didn't really have that experience. It went mostly fine. I do have one complaint to file against my younger sister, which is one time she threw a Ninja Turtle doll, toy, whatever, at me, figurine, and it struck me in the lip, splitting my lip open.
I've heard this story 100 times.
Now,
it's a problem, and I was never compensated.
I see.
In a court of children's
reparations.
law.
He gets angrier the more often he tells the story.
Yeah, I guess we're just not gonna ever see justice, are we?
Time does not heal all wounds.
The little boy, too, after he gets squirted with ketchup here, he says a line that made me stop because it just made me laugh so hard. He goes, "That's it. I have had it." Just like Sam Jackson in Snakes on a Plane.
But he does not finish the sentence the same way.
He does not, surprisingly.
He's fed up with Tara, and that's what leads him to do what he later tries to do. And ultimately, I think it works even better than he meant for it to. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For now, Tara has succeeded masterfully in her plan of her long plan to prank him and squirt him with ketchup and then get him in trouble for it.
Little does she know her brother wants to play Cosmic Chicken.
Her response to this, because he's like, okay, obviously you got me here. And she's like, I got you good. I got you almost as good as when I got you at your birthday party or something like that.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing. I'm paraphrasing.
Just as just as dryly as she said it, though. So good job on that.
No, and that's mean because, again, this is like a 3-year-old girl.
Oh, she did great for a 3-year-old girl.
For her. And it bothers me that she's clearly 7 or supposed to be and is not in
That's
this.
another example of Hollywood always casting younger women in roles meant for older women.
So now we get to go to the flashback and see this party, which
straight
is
up Vietnam War flashback with this kid.
Fantastic. This is the most 90s child party ever, including the fact that he's opening up a CD to
The
start
Big
things.
12 birthday party. I love that it's called that, like it's that fucking sports conference for college.
And he goes, awesome, thanks for the CD, Mona.
Mona.
Oh, look, it's Yanni's 206 greatest hits. Whoopee.
As Ben just alluded to, he is opening presents from Mona, and it's a big deal. Tara totally reveals he doesn't like that CD. He's only pretending to because he's in love, and she's kind of ruining his whole party for him. Everyone else loves it. Everyone's just sitting there laughing at Tara, making fun of him, and really kind of everything at his expense at his party. It's horrible. I would be very insulted if I had friends who treated me that way on my birthday party. That would be unforgivable almost.
Especially with like Henry and Josh, they're real hard asses.
Is that a football he opened up? It's a CD.
What a joke.
Yeah, I could not keep up with the chatter at this party. It was a whole bunch of...
Not worth keeping up with, as it turns out.
A whole bunch of, this is a kid's party chatter. This is the thing kids say at parties. So, and there's an even better one later when we get to his 6th birthday party. The stuff he says in that one. So, even better here, Tara's not done. She's not done harassing Michael on his birthday in front of his friends, might I add. When his mom calls for him to bring his own cake in the room, which again, why do you do that?
Get it yourself, piece of shit.
Birthday tradition.
Come to the kitchen and bring the cake out to your friends.
Hey, look, you don't have any presents. You know why? Because you didn't go buy any.
A little kid also, when they see him coming with the cake or whatever, goes in the background, oh, cake. I love cake in just the most obnoxious way possible.
I imagine they didn't give him much stage direction. They were essentially just like, all right, just act natural and say what anyone would say when they see cake entering the room. I love cake.
Yeah, so this whole thing actually spirals more and more out of control for Michael. Here's a little example of what goes down toward the end of Tara's pranks here.
Hey, Michael, are you supposed to serve your guests first?
They had a good 4-hour laugh about that one.
So that squishing sound you heard was Michael falling face first into the cake. That's how that went. That was the successful Tara trip out of the kitchen. As you can see, everyone loved it.
They made so many extra just noises. Yeah. It was disgusting.
Not to mention the, I'd say like uninterrupted 45 seconds of children giggling.
Pointing.
Oh, it went on. I cut it off at the end. It kept going. That wasn't the end of the scene. They laughed for a little while after that.
I think that's probably the Goosebumps solution to any sort of like under time situation for the show. Like if they need another 30 seconds, like let's just throw some kids laughing in. And we, depending on the music, it can either be funny or terrifying.
Can we use that trick if we need to pad our shows at
Yeah,
all?
Van, can you play a kid laughing for a while if we need to?
About 30 to 45 seconds.
Yeah.
I guess now we have the ideas of the depth that Tara will go to and how sinister she can be here. We have a full idea of it.
I mean, she's tortured animals before, right?
Or
Yeah,
she's about
one
to.
of the great villains of our time.
Tara Reid's origin story.
She'll go on to be in that fucking hamster movie with Dean Cain.
In the present, we've got the title arriving and everything's coming to fruition here. The Cuckoo Clock arrives and my God.
It's a real hit.
My God, Michael's dad is excited for this fucking Cuckoo Clock. I've never seen anyone get so into that.
The moving guys, by the way, the kid Michael's having his little daydream about the Vietnam flashback with the cake. And the movers show up and he's in the way. So one of the movers is just like, just get the fuck out of the way, kid. Kid, I got this goddamn clock to move.
Yeah, that thing's probably a really heavy clock.
And we're assuming that this is the Doom one, right? That there's not a second one that goes in unseen.
Later. Yeah, no, this one's fine.
I've got to think that they were having trouble unloading this because it's a Doom clock, because it's clearly been sitting in this antique shop for 12 years, as we later figure out. considering that Michael's able to find it whenever he wants to, going back in time.
Which really lends credence to everyone else's opinion, like the mom, for instance, that this clock sucks. Yeah.
It's like, that's an ugly fucking clock. It's just like in A Christmas Story when the dad wins that lamp of the lady's
With the leg.
you know?
Yeah.
and she thinks it's a hideous lamp and the dad loves it. It's just like that.
So hot.
So the cuckoo clock does arrive thanks to Anthony and his antique store. We learn it's no ordinary clock. The dad gets into the back.
Is it of doom?
The dad does get into the backstory. Let's hear it.
How can a clock be magical?
Well, the legend is that a strange old man built the clock over 100 years ago, and he put a magical spell on it. But they say whoever discovers the magic must beware.
Whoa! Oh!
First of all, I have a question, and it's a lot like my Goosebumps question, is why did anyone think to put a cuckoo in a clock? How did that happen?
I'm assuming it's because they are loud in real life. So
And
someone's
like
just
the
like,
whole
hey, it's an alarm.
rooster crowing.
Do
at
actual
dawn thing,
cuckoos
maybe?
make that noise?
I don't think they make that noise, but they make, it's kind of like how, if you remember this, a quail sounds like it says Bob White. I think it's
Yeah,
kind of similar
yes.
to that. It's like, kind of, whatever. Okay, sure it does.
But a quail man doesn't say Bob White.
What does he say?
It saves children in danger, I think.
Oh, good.
I'm not really sure. I was also confused that for a cuckoo clock of doom, you would really expect for the bird to like
Have a deeper voice?
or
something?
like play a sleep or a YOB album when its mouth opens instead of doing that little noise.
I also think that that there's a lot of fanfare for a delivery of an antique clock. What's so special about this clock? They say it was built over 100.
Yeah.
Like, is this just a normal day in this household?
We got no appliances in my entire upbringing where my dad warned us.
And the music ominously played as he talked about over 100 years ago, a magical man made this clock.
The microwave of peril.
I wish you had. Yeah, it's such a buildup for this thing, and he does mention, although you don't really know what it pertains to, he does mention that Anthony told him it has a flaw, but he won't tell him what. Which sounds like a great way to sell a product that's been sitting in your store for 12 years, right? It's fucked up somewhere. I'm not gonna tell
it's
you.
magic and something's wrong with it.
You want it? Here's where Michael finds his opportunity to get back at that bitch Tara. It's like, as he's going to bed for the night, Tara does actually get in trouble. She's too tempted by it. She does kind of get near it and mess with it a little bit. And the dad says, Tara, you do that again, I'm beat the shit out of you. You know, he tells her essentially she's grounded, she's in trouble if she touches it one more time, something like that. So she's kind of going to be implicated if something happens to the clock. Michael, seeing his chance, knowing Tara never gets in trouble, says to himself as he goes to bed, I'm going to turn the tables on her. I'm going to fuck with this clock, and they're going to think Tara did it, and she's going to get in trouble.
Real mastermind.
I better set my alarm clock for 1 minute before the hour.
It turns out so, I think it might have been like 5 minutes before the hour because it takes him a while to get to the clock.
It's a real path loaded with pratfalls.
So many things. And this is the kind of thing that I gloss over when I watch. I just know it was like 5 minutes of him going downstairs.
And one more thing about the clock, too, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw this. On the clock, it says in big, bold letters, digital alarm clock. It is, in fact, not even close to a digital alarm clock. It's a complete analog alarm clock with like the spinning wheels with the numbers on it.
That is bizarre.
Yeah, completely analog. So that means somebody designed that and put digital alarm clock on.
I love that.
It's like having a car and just having horse spray painted across the side.
That's really, really bizarre. That's a good job noticing that.
It's one of those things where I paused it because I was like, wait a second, Canada movie. Come on. One of the things the kid steps on, by the way, when he's getting from point A to point B, is a baby doll, which has a dog chew toy noise in it.
Yeah.
I don't know baby dolls that squeak like that.
It's so a baby can try to rip the jugular out of the toy.
Maybe if it's Tara's toy, that is what she does with it.
That's a good point.
You know what would be really good at this is Chris Lorenzo from Silk Stockings.
Timing it out.
Getting point A to point B as fast as possible.
That is a job for him for sure. I seriously think it was like upwards 5 minutes because they play the ominous music. They try to make it really suspenseful of his big plan here. So it takes a while. Ultimately, all he really does when it pops out of there is he just twists the head backwards.
He snaps its fucking neck.
It is pretty, when you think about it actually being a bird, pretty horrible thing to do, Michael.
Did you guys notice, and this is not just Michael, but probably all boy 90s hair, But as he went down the stairs, his hair
Was it flopping?
it really looked like George Washington's hair, which is strange to see on a little boy.
Yeah, hair was unfortunate. Really, that entire all of the
Hair's
19
always
anything.
Yeah.
Every era has its hair.
That's true. Every era has its hair, just like every rose has its thorn. Let's take a real short break, and when we come back, we'll discuss some more Goosebumps. So it's the next day. Michael's plan has worked. I guess he turned the Cuckoo's head backwards, and now it's his birthday all over again, which he thinks is a joke because it already was his birthday.
Yeah, we're getting a total Groundhog Day situation here, and Michael, I mean, he does not get it. Like Spencer said, like he's not only confused at first, he just continues to be for a while.
Yeah. They're putting up the banner downstairs. Tara's talking about how she can't wait to ruin his party, and
Monster.
He's definitely like, okay, this has gone on a little while. I mean, are you guys done? Because we already had my birthday, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually he does realize that this is happening. He's going to have to relive all the terrible moments from that flashback.
Hang out with Henry and Josh all over again.
It does go just as badly this time, except I believe he falls into the cake the other direction the second time.
That's one of my favorite parts about this sequence is Michael has the benefit of hindsight, and the whole time he's like, what? But wait.
He doesn't change anything.
And doesn't change anything, and all the same bad stuff happens again.
Well, one thing I want to point out, I did a little research here because this scene, they show the same thing happening, but of course he's experiencing a second time. So therefore he acts slightly different. Well, they cut it differently visually, and we see the CD that he talked about earlier hit the ground. I paused it.
Were you able to tell what it was?
I was able to tell what it was.
Hell yes.
I looked it up. I found you music from the CD, which is just called The Spheres.
Wow.
And here is a sample. It's about 45 minutes of this.
So Mona gave Michael that for his birthday?
And was like, you're going to love this, Michael.
This sounds like some sort of music made for digital alarm clocks.
Yeah, no, it's full of that. It's terrifying.
No wonder Henry and Josh say it sucks.
That track was called Delirium, by the way.
Michael thought it was lame when he listened to it the first time and threw it out, and that's why. Maybe Michael knows a little more than we're giving him credit for. So yeah, this whole party, God, now I'm stuck on this thing, now the CD thing development. This whole party plays itself out the same way. Michael's just as upset about it the second time, and he is stressing in bed that night about how not only does his party suck, but that's the second time he's had it to his parents who don't believe him.
No.
Can you blame him? I know the parents
Not
are
at
dumb.
all. I love his dad's reaffirmation, though. Like, where he's trying to be like, oh, don't be crazy, son. Like this, that can't be possible. Like I always say, tomorrow's another day. Yeah, you really coined that one. No one's ever fucking said that before, Goose Dad.
Well, he says it too, and the Canadian really comes out here because he's just like, I'm sorry you didn't like your birthday, son.
I do remember hearing sorry.
Yeah. Tomorrow we'll take you down to Eagle Hat at the Tim Hortons and we can get a treat. You see?
We'll go moose shopping.
Overall, they're pretty dismissive of their 12-year-old child who's saying he's had his birthday twice. So they leave the room. Michael falls asleep. We get a dream sequence in slow motion where Tara's head pops out of the clock. That's really the only takeaway.
Visually hilarious.
Yes.
That's the only takeaway. If only we weren't limited to our audio medium here, we could show you this dream. But it's terrifying. Michael wakes up screaming.
Yet I would argue it's too funny to be terrifying.
And not only does he wake up screaming, but he also wakes up 6.
We've been there.
It's 1 minute past midnight is his mom, his now younger mom, tells him is his 6th birthday. So he gets to do like a response to this where he grabs his face and screams. That was straight from the Home Alone playbook.
Yeah.
Did you guys get that vibe?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Macaulay Culkin scream?
They were probably trying to cash in on that.
But that's like 4 years after it or something, or like 3 years later. It just seemed maybe the kid did it and they were like, oh, how adorable.
Very timely.
I mean, that was more timely then because the news cycle wasn't so rapid fire. So like anything that happened within the
Canada,
past,
they
like,
didn't know about things.
Yeah, like they were probably just now getting around to The Godfather.
And do you remember how when a movie would come out in the theater, it'd run for about 9 months.
For a while.
And then you couldn't get it on VHS till like 2 years later.
Yeah, that would be a big reason for wanting going to see it in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. It was a big deal to go to the theater back then. Not so much now.
Like when I saw Space Jam twice.
Now it's wow. But now what? So who was your favorite Space Jam?
Who was your favorite Space
As a child, big Sylvester fan here.
Yep.
As an adult, I'm a fan of Wayne Knight being in Space Jam.
No, that's true.
Wow.
And Bill
yeah.
Murray, for that matter.
Yeah, they had some interesting cameos in that.
Danny DeVito.
I have not seen that movie twice, and I feel kind of disappointed in myself.
Same
now.
here. Only one time.
Either of you seen the new one with LeBron?
No, I heard
I've
it was
not.
I haven't
bad.
either. I've heard it was terrible.
It's like 3 hours or something. It's
Yeah,
just-
and I think its whole purpose is to like exist so that it can advertise for other Warner Brothers
Probably.
stuff.
I
Like
would
they,
not be surprised. Yeah, I heard it goes on way too long and takes itself way too seriously.
oh, that's
Which
you don't
is
want that out of
disappointing.
Space Jam.
I would have thought LeBron would know better.
Not enough Brendan Fraser.
I don't think that there are any Monstars
Because Brendan Fraser was in that
You
one.
can't have Space Jam without Monstars.
or Brendan Fraser.
We're back. I think that's what it was called. Back in action.
Ah,
Looney Tunes back in action.
Looney Tunes back in action.
For all of our Fraser heads out there
Yeah.
who are just, or Fraser, I
Fraser.
think. Anyway, yeah, it's not like, oh, Niles, here I am
Yeah,
with Sylvester.
Brendan Fraser. I'm in Blast from the Past with Alicia Silverstone.
If only.
Hey, Niles, I just watched Eddie eat Tweety Bird.
Wow. If you would have said a cuckoo, we could have tied that back in. We could have tied that back into this, but no, there's no way that I can possibly transition from Martin talking about someone eating a bird to Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
Niles, I'm in the Mummy.
Which is the trashiest tattoo, Tweety Bird or Taz? Brian, go.
Did you say trashiest or hottest?
Trashiest.
Tweety Bird, Taz rules.
You think? What I'm taking away from this is you're like, if I see a Taz tattoo on
hot.
the back of a woman's shoulder blade,
Yeah.
you're going to be hot and
Especially
bothered.
if the Taz is like spinning in a cyclone.
That does sound pretty cool.
Because in your head, you can hear the noise he makes.
Love making noises, yes.
What if Angela had a Taz tattoo from 90 Day Fiancé?
No deal there. I
Okay.
mean, that's, that cancels it out.
Where would she? How would you?
Stop there.
I do. Let's get back to this. This is getting real bad. So we've got the parents that are 6 years younger. We've got the dad with hair, which I presume would be a very bad wig that they put on him. And Michael's figuring out that he's done this himself by turning the bird's head backwards.
And the parents show no confusion at the fact that their now 6-year-old son is speaking with the eloquence of a 12-year-old, which
No.
isn't great, but it's more than a 6-year-old.
And also with the sort of weird time traveler story he's telling,
like conceptual stuff they can't get.
I would assume if I had a son and he was doing this shit, I would be like, oh my God, I'm involved in something bigger than me. Like this, I have a child whose very spirit has traveled across eons and experienced more than I'll ever know.
Yeah, they've got the parents doing a very like a blank slate job here all the way around. Like
Yeah.
they don't. I mean, I get they didn't have room to like fill out these characters, but they're every time it's pretty much the same thing. Oh, Michael, just calm down. You're not sick. They feel his head to make sure he's not feverish, and they are just they're very kind of, oh, silly Michael thinking he's stuck in time.
They never think to call like a doctor or a
Yeah.
psychologist or a Mountie.
Nah, just go to sleep. Tomorrow's a new day.
You didn't get that time thing from Hermione, did you?
So she could go to school more.
We also figure out here, and that is a fantastic entire storyline of Harry Potter.
Ugh.
We also figure out here that there's no Tara because, and the math doesn't work
Shoot.
on this. The math doesn't work on this, but we've traveled back since he's 6, and she is who knows how old.
Negative.
She would actually be 1 if they're 5 years apart. If he's 12 and she's 7, if she was born in 88 and this was made in 95.
You mean to tell me that Goosebumps didn't get its dates correct?
I mean, how
Come
hard
on.
is it? How hard is it to sit down and figure this stuff out? In any case, she is not alive, whether she should be or not. She's not. The parents don't know who she is. That's the dad's office room, that room that's supposed to be Tara's in this alternate reality 6 years prior.
So the dad is really honestly kind of reaping the rewards here.
Yeah, nobody misses Tara.
No, nobody fucking
except
cares.
for Michael. Michael's starting to wonder, maybe this isn't such a good thing. Tara disappeared. I could be next, which is the conversation that he has with his 6-year-old friends at his birthday party.
Oh God,
As they're all sitting down eating cake and ice cream with the clown making them balloons. The existential crisis that Michael's going through really made me laugh, actually. Like the entire...
It's really funny.
Him lamenting to his friends about how he's getting younger and has to get to the antique store. I have a little clip for you guys.
What's wrong, Michael? I gotta get out of here. I gotta get downtown to the antique store.
What's an antique?
I'm getting younger by the day. But it's your birthday. You're getting older. You don't understand. Today I'm 6. Tomorrow I may be nothing.
And a bang-up job to that kid for reading that last part with so much enthusiasm. I may be nothing. I feel like he's like a Shakespearean actor pulling that thing out.
Don't worry, Michael. Time is a flat circle unto itself.
I wish like multiple characters gave him his dad's advice, like one of the little kids. Michael, I always say tomorrow is another day. So Michael does actually do what he says he needs to do there. He leaves his own party and goes to the antique store.
He just fucking wanders off.
And nothing scary happens to him at all.
Certainly nothing weird.
Are you telling me you guys never left a birthday party to go to an antique store? You never did that?
Not in a while.
Not once.
I left putt-putt once to go to the car because I was mad because I was losing.
That's much more believable. So there's a part here, by the way, that I didn't understand that I want to talk about.
It's where Michael begs his dad to read him more Clifford, probably.
No, yes, but we're not there yet. Although this is 12-year-old Michael asking his dad to do that as a 6-year-old, which is kind of fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I want to talk about how he runs to the store and there's a creepy guy in a trench coat that says, "Hey kids, you got the time," and follows him.
Horrifying.
And then disappears.
Is that R.L. Stine? Was that guy?
Well, they present it like it's a problem early on, but we realize it isn't a problem because it's actually just the Prime Minister of Canada. No big deal.
Yeah, it's not explained it's supposed to be ominous, like maybe this guy is in on the whole mystery of the clock or something.
Yeah.
But then
or just a creep.
It could be. And also, do you have the time? Not a question anybody needs to ask ever again.
Especially not a 6-year-old child.
That too.
Although, if you were to ever ask a 6-year-old if he had the time, the one to ask would be the one who seems to have power over the concept of time, which is Michael.
I just feel like there is something that they were trying to do there that didn't come across.
Like there was one writer who was like, let's get in a mysterious stranger plot, and then they left it dangling. They just never finished it.
Totally, yeah. He's approaching Michael as Michael's attempting to break into the antique shop, which has a sign. The antique clock is inside, which is good. However, it's closed for vacation, is what the sign says, which a business would totally say.
I also wondered, too, because we know that the clock goes off at noon and at midnight. And I feel like this is just at a random time.
Yeah. Yeah, it couldn't be either one of
No, they
those.
had the birthday party on Thursday at 11:50
p.m. So Michael is unable to get in the antique shop. This strange guy who just asked him for the time is approaching. But by the time somebody gets right behind him, it's just his dad, who is
also
disappointed. He's disappointed that his son ran away from his party to go to the antique store.
He says, your friends said you'd be here, which basically means the friends ratted him out after he gave them his present.
So they were already bad friends at age 6 that he kept until age 12. Also, fucking Henry and Josh look the same age. Everyone else looks younger.
And why was his dad so calmly going to the antique store to pick up his 6-year-old son who just run away? He's just run away from home, and he's like, I knew I'd find you here.
There's probably no ominous black-clad drifter chasing after him. It'll be fine.
I was told you'd walk across this very small saloon-like town.
Yeah, I was going to say, how far away is this antique shop that they always fucking go to, that this dad's obsessed with? Let's go to Anthony's today.
Oh, man.
Again?
I can't get enough of fucking Anthony's.
How do you go to an antique store enough that you're on a first-name basis with the owner?
And, I mean, again, we know that when Michael's 12, he orders this giant clock that he's had his eye on for decades. And so clearly he's just like a regular customer at Anthony's antique shop to the point where he's always bothering the family. You want to go to Anthony's today? No, Dad, Jesus. I don't want to go to Anthony's.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy who walks into Anthony's Antiques and is like, yo, Anthony, what's up? And then Anthony's like, not much, Dad. You know, like they very much know one another.
They go bowling together.
They probably are in the same bowling league.
All we get here is another stay of execution on Michael because, you know, he's not going to be able to solve this problem, so he's going to need another day to get there. We are going backwards in time, so we don't know how much time he's got left, and that's what he's lamenting as he's in bed, making his dad read him multiple books, yes, as mentioned earlier, about Clifford the Big Red Dog. I still think it's weird that he just, I get that he doesn't want to go to sleep and he's stressed, but if you have the mind of a 12-year-old and you're stressed, you probably want to work through that by yourself. Not with your dad in bed with you reading stories to you.
I guess he figures like I need something to stay awake that keeps my brain the most stimulated it could possibly be.
And that would be Big Dog. That's what Clifford boils down to.
It's also red, though.
Big Dog. I just put my note here. This kid's a real fucking bummer because he's just such a little downer.
I really liked how when his dad says goodnight, he says, not goodnight, goodbye.
It sounds really dramatic, like a kid being a brat or something, just like when he doesn't want to go to sleep. Fine, goodbye. But in his mind, he might not be there tomorrow.
He will be, though. He'll be achieving things we never thought possible.
So the next day comes and Michael is alive. He's alive, but he's a baby now. He's maybe like a year old. He can't even talk essentially, but he still has his mind. His mind still works. We hear it in voiceovers. So he's got his 12-year-old brain, but he's now in a baby's body. We get to see an even younger, presumably, although she just looks blonder, version of his mom.
They did a great job making him look like they came out of the 80s. I will say that.
Yeah, that's true. And we would be looking at, I guess...
Howie Mandel hair.
We'd be looking at, apparently now since this is almost a full 12 years, we're going to be in like mid-80s by this time period. The last one would have been more like 89. Now that we've got our chronology in order here. Here's the part where I just completely lost my shit at the dad, because this is all the way back to the beginning of Michael's life, and he's talking about Anthony.
This is so funny. Before you get into that, I really quickly want to mention that that sequentially something that happens is baby Michael realizes he's a baby, realizes he needs to get to the clock, and then shits his own pants.
Yeah, well, you gotta do that as a baby. You don't have a choice.
It's just not, when the episode started, if you would have said by the end of this, bet me $5, like I'll bet you $5 Michael's going to shit his pants, I'd be like, I don't think so.
This whole scene was actually really enjoyable, despite there's not much to it. It's just Michael's a baby. His mom sticks a temperature.
That's all.
She sticks a temperature, is what I said, up his ass.
Which one?
And then
94.4 degrees.
And then the dad comes in, and the dad. Okay, so Michael's kind of fucked when he wakes up and realizes he's a baby, right? Because he can't talk, he can't do anything. He's kind of fucked.
No motor skills.
Except his dad is so goddamn stupid that he wants to go to the antique store immediately and take him back to the one place that he can go.
That's a lot of leading questions to this baby.
The one place that he can go to fix this whole thing, and his dad is so dumb and dorky, he wants to go there immediately. Here's the clip.
How would my little buddy like to go for a nice walk downtown?
Wait a minute. We could be onto something.
I can't walk.
Maybe do some window shopping.
Getting warmer.
Take a look in that antique store.
Bingo!
What do you think, hon?
Let's not go to Anthony's.
I kept that part in on purpose just because I like the idea of the mom being like, no, not again. We're not doing that.
Maybe she has a different antique store she likes to frequent.
It seems like the actual content is she's like, Anthony charges too much. But I like the concept, though, of her being like, we're not going to Anthony's again, you piece of shit.
Anthony pre-curses all of his items.
I've been to Anthony's twice this week already.
Twice today. So, of course, the dad gets his way, and I guess Michael, too, in this case. They go to Anthony's. They're supposed to be just window shopping. That's what he said. But they're immediately just stuck in this really intense conversation with Anthony. So much so that they don't realize for several minutes as Michael climbs up various furniture in the store to get to the top of the cuckoo clock, and his attempt to turn the cuckoo's head back around. It's another one of those dramatic things, the build-up here.
A very dramatic.
Motion.
We're supposed to take quite seriously a baby attempting to scale a cuckoo clock of doom.
You know what people who own antique stores love? It's babies let loose in their stores at any given
They're really
moment.
into it. I gotta say, though, as far as casting goes and people who might own an antique store, Anthony looks like he might.
I mean, I bought it. It was a little bit, yes, it's a little bit hard to imagine that an antique person would not have an eye on that. And the parents, too. Just everyone drops the ball there and lets Michael walk all the way up that clock on his tiny little toddler.
What did you think of the visual of that, guys?
I'll tell you what I thought of the audio when Anthony looks and sees the baby and goes, grab that baby.
It's dramatic. That's how you do dramatic things. You do it in slow motion, and it's supposed to be really tense. Were you guys more or less stressed watching that scene as you were watching the kids try to do their sequence activities in Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Oh, Legends of the Hidden
For
Temple, 100%.
sure.
Not close, is it? It's like
For
I
sure.
was so
This was
stressed.
this. I had a look of delight on my face. I'm certain.
Yeah, it wasn't stressful at all, honestly. But it is a big moment. Michael getting to the top of this clock and turning the bird's head around. I'm not going to call it a cuckoo because I just don't think they're real. I've never seen one, and I don't think anything makes that noise. So the bird's head turning back around is the only thing that can save him. You got to presume the next, one more day of sleep here and he's finished. Michael's dead is the end of the story if he doesn't do this. So he succeeds. He turns the clock's head around.
As a baby.
As a baby. He's back to the present moment where his dad immediately scolds him not to touch the clock that he got from Anthony's. He doesn't actually say that, but he does scold him. And just so we know that it worked, he says, "You're 12 years old, Michael, act like it." Just something like that. A throwaway line that's like, everything's fine now. Everything's fine now, watcher. So his dad's annoyed he's fucked with the clock. The mom has lunch ready. Everything's back to normal, right? Except Michael has knocked the year 88 off the clock as a baby in his attempt to turn the head back around, to twist that head back around.
Which meant Kirk Gibson could have never hit that home run, that
So many
iconic
things.
World Series home run.
Who won between Dukakis and George Bush? Who will know?
The history of America could have been changed.
Now, see, I am really glad you guys did that. I did not think to write a whole list of things that happened in 88 besides Tara's birth, but I'm glad you guys had that a little bit. I wish we had like 10 things now.
I know. I did. For some reason, at least it made sense that Van came up with like a historically
thing that
important
people
event.
know about.
And I came up with a baseball thing, which is not that
It
impressive.
does make sense.
Was that
It was a big home run.
Was that the not hurricane? What the hell's the thing where the ground?
That was
shakes?
89, the
89,
earthquake
okay, yeah.
series.
What
Yeah.
the hell's the thing where the ground shakes?
What do they call that? A typhoon?
Rump shaker. That's it.
What do they call it? A thunderstorm?
Yeah, that was like 2 years later or 1 year after that?
1 year later.
89?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In knocking the year off the clock, Tara does not come back to life, even though everything else is back to normal. So we've left Tara behind in this Cuckoo Clock of Doom story. Now, it does set up a potential sequel that Michael actually hints at. Is like, maybe I'll go back in time and rescue her. That was in the book. When I read it, I was 10 years old. I read that. Me, all my friends, we were certain a sequel book was coming.
That there would
with
be
that
a
storyline.
Cuckoo Clock of Hope.
There never was. It never came. The show didn't do it. The books didn't do it. We don't get any
Man.
closure on this.
Darn.
So
Have you guys talked about it since, like in recent years?
no, I should probably bring it up.
I'll talk to him at recess.
I should start, or should I say recess pieces? I should start a message thread with them out of nowhere and be like, you guys think that they'll bring back the second Cuckoo Clock of Doom now?
With no other forethought. Just
No.
that.
That would be hard though. I think I probably only come up with one of those people. I could ask him to tell me the rest of their numbers, so I could figure this out.
You'll make it happen.
I'm going to do it, and I'm going to put it on our Instagram, the whole conversation, so that you guys can all take part of this with me. That's pretty much the end of this episode. There's no Tara. Van's really upset about that, I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen Bone, to be precise. That's really who she is. And yeah, the dad still gets her room as an office, which he's making use of. There doesn't seem to be any technology in there, so I don't know what kind of work he's doing, but something important.
It's Canada, so just be like, I don't know, bacon grinding wheel,
His dad
Probably
calls him,
chopping wood.
Yeah, no.
fur trapping.
Yeah. Yeah, they do that.
I also just kind of wonder, can we really believe that the dad actually does anything important at all? Like, I'm pretty sure
He does. He's the voice of Homer Simpson. That's Dan Castellaneta, based on the looks, anyway.
he really actually, I can see the resemblance for sure, to be honest. I mean, I know it's not him, but it really did kind of look like him.
I think the only way it makes sense is if he is some sort of antiques dealer.
That would
Even
solve,
then,
that
come
would,
on.
But he's not. I mean, he clearly bought this clock item solely
He's just
because
an
he was
antique
excited.
fanboy. That's what he is.
Yeah, he's a fucking antique hanger on.
He watches that stupid fucking show.
Oh,
Yeah,
God, I
Antiques
hate that
Roadshow.
show.
Yeah. Oh, I got. One time I was in a hotel and that was on, and I watched it for like an hour.
I do the British one because it's just old British people who are fascinating. They're like, "Hey, I got this in your war, and I think it's worth £4."
It's probably a brooch.
And then the guy's like, "No, this is a German war thing, and it's worth $8 billion." Oh, I think I'll put it back in my garden then.
So we find out at the end, his dad sees that 88's missing and says, maybe that's the flaw. I think I found the flaw. I don't know if that's supposed to be the flaw or not, because it wouldn't, was that gone in the first place when they got the clock
thinking the
originally?
whole flaw, like the flaw with the clock was that it would reverse time.
That is the
That
flaw. No,
seems
you
like
see
it.
the little 88 thing get knocked off by the baby.
Yeah,
In
he
the-
knocks
So you
it
watch
off.
it.
Because his motor skills, despite the 12-year-old brain, they're still limited.
So this is a mind fuck, but that was 12 years prior to the moment at the end there, right?
Yeah.
So, but when they first get the clock, none of that happened. So is the 88 gone originally too?
Time's a flat circle,
it depends
man.
on the butterfly effect nature of this whole Goosebumps episode. Also, doesn't Michael say something like, I can get around to fixing that later before the episode ends?
Something like
Essentially
that.
saying like, I'm going to let Tara continue to exist in the nether realm for now.
That seems to be a theme in this is that, for now, let's go ahead and let what horrible life-changing thing I've done last for a
For
little
now,
bit.
let's play God.
So did you guys happen to catch the really subtle way that they were able to convey that Tara wasn't there by showing the picture without her the second time?
Yeah.
Ooh, was that good cinematography or what?
Yeah, that was the real chef's kiss.
My favorite part of that is that, okay, so what it is it's a 2x2 grid of the parents and then the two kids. That's what we see in the beginning.
Yeah.
Now that she's gone, it's just a triangle, which you would never have in this design. You just have it like side by side.
I wish it had
It's
been even
very awkward.
lazier, like they just blacked her out or something.
It's just a piece of tape on it.
They put like an old woman's face on it, and it's supposed to be like the grandmother in the family.
That's where we leave that one off. Did you guys I'm afraid to ask because it's an awfully dumb, absurd episode. What'd you think?
I had a great time watching
That's
this
a nice way to
Goosebumps
say it.
episode. This is back to back too, because after Van forced us to watch 90 Day Fiance, we've had Legends of the Hidden Temple and now Goosebumps, which
I
are
feel it was the only thing that we could do to cleanse our palate after 90 Day Fiance.
which are such just nothing entertainments, but are just delightful. This had a lot of that 90s nostalgia that we got from Legends of the
it's
Hidden
like
Temple.
we crawled back into the womb after 90 Day Fiance. Actually.
Yes. We became 90s day children instead of 90 Day Fiancés. Yeah, close enough.
Close enough.
Good joke, Brian. Good joke. Anyway, yeah, I had a really fun time watching this. I found so much of it just like incredibly goofy in a way that just really delighted me.
This one definitely falls into that category of campy dumb. Not one of the supposedly very scary, terrifying ones that we didn't pick with Ryan Gosling in it.
I enjoyed it. I thought this was just too much fun to watch. Very time capsule-ish.
Yeah.
And the Canadian aspect of it, like I said, does show through. If you're looking through the details, you see that you hear the words, you see the details in the background, that sort of thing. And it just all cracked me up. I just had so much fun doing it.
I like that you caught that because they definitely were not trying to display that. They're trying to hide it. But yeah, it's just like you said, it's cheaper to do Canada-based scenery and actors, I'm sure too. So
yeah, if you look up the cast list, the IMDb, like all the people who weren't ever in anything anymore, you look them up and it's like so and so was a
The
Canadian
Canadian.
theater.
Yeah.
the next episode we'll be covering actually the school they filmed in was a Canadian school. So yeah, they did a lot of their shooting. Some of it was in California.
I was thinking, I noticed that at the school lunches, they all had Molsons.
Until I started figuring out where you're going with that. Before you were finished, I wasn't totally sold on this. For a little bit though, I was actually going to be like, oh, this could be an interesting point he's going to make here about
How perceptive.
Canadians.
Happy birthday, Michael. Here's your bowl of poutine.
Sounds good, actually. I've always wanted to try that. Well, that's all for Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
Okay, I was waiting for you to say it because I have a special treat for you, gentlemen.
What?
Good.
Weird.
Is it a Cuckoo Clock of Doom?
Well, much like what the Cuckoo Clock of Doom would portend, we also are taking a trip back in time.
Oh, shit.
A trip back in time 40 episodes ago, because we're going to do something we haven't done since our very first episode of this show, California Dreams. I'm going to reveal to you that Goosebumps is available on YouTube in certain ways, and I have YouTube comments from these episodes.
Oh, that's
yeah.
fantastic.
This is a real Dawn Pierce situation.
Oh, I hope Dawn Pierce commented on these.
She did not. I actually looked her up to see if she'd commented on anything since. She hasn't. She's mostly just putting out sheep videos for when she goes on vacation.
And she's more of a California Dreams gal in general.
Sure, certainly. So I will tell you a little bit of a preface here. I don't have a whole lot for this episode. The next episode, however, I have
Interesting.
plenty. So let's go ahead and dive right
Wonder
into
why
this.
that would be.
I have two comments for you. One certainly longer than the second. This first one comes from Teen Forever 16. I don't want to be an adult. I'm sorry.
I guess
don't
they
want to
made
be
that
a
clear.
adult. Yeah. Team Forever 16, I don't want to be a
I
adult.
wonder how old this person is, like 72.
Says, this is their quote, their comment, age backwards in real life.
That's it?
That's it.
Is that a command?
I think it is.
Or are they saying I've done this? Like I've actually gone through this?
Up to the viewer, you know. Again, time is a flat circle, maybe both in different worlds and experiences.
Also, what is this screen name again?
Teen Forever 16, I don't want to be a adult.
No one has ever more been a 47-year-old man.
Hello, fellow children. That sort of thing.
What was the comment again?
Age backwards in real life.
That is mind-blowing.
Is this a cipher? Do we need to get a hold of Nicolas Cage or Dan Brown?
Do we need the what are they called? Code talkers to figure this one out.
Oh, code
Age
talker.
backwards in real life.
Yeah, isn't that the Native Americans?
That's pretty cool sounding.
I think that's them. Because they talked in Navajo, spoken Navajo during one of the world wars, and like the Germans couldn't figure it out.
Wow.
So rather than use a cipher or a like a crypto quip or whatever, that's not at all it. Cryptology or whatever.
The crypto quip is
That's
that thing from the newspaper that we used to do while scorekeeping bowling tournaments.
That's right. All right, one more comment. Let's go ahead and get to that. All right, sit down, gentlemen. This will take a moment.
Okay.
This one's from Jeremy Anderson. Bit of a change from the first name, anyway. Jeremy Anderson says, age backwards in humans. I will oppress to stop growing up forever.
Oh, shit.
I hate old. I want to become younger forever. I want my youth back forever. So want to be a teenager forever. I don't want wrinkles and getting crap, and I hate aging. I don't want grow old and die. Physically regression younger, turn back the clock fountain of youth in real life, turning the clock in time in real life into reality called age regression and age backwards in humans. I want to getting younger and younger. Sorry. And then angry face emoji, water fountain, water fountain, water fountain, water fountain, water fountain, test tube, brain, guy, syringe, DNA, infinity, bone, angry sun, crying, time, reverse arrows, time, stop aging forever.
So he's got this down to a fucking formula there with the symbols.
So this is what people thought when they watched Cuckoo Clock of Doom, and they wanted to share that with us.
Do you guys think he's right, though?
I mean, he's not wrong.
Do you guys think
It's not wrong.
Does his analysis hold up after all this time?
I don't think we can test it. It's one of those brilliant things where it's like you can't disprove that. You're not going to be able to.
No, and that's kind of modern discourse, right? Is just say something that has no basis in reality.
Safest way.
Yeah, so that it can't be disproven or proven.
Or maybe it's just a maniac ranting.
On the
I think
Cuckoo
you're onto
Clock of
something
Doom
here.
YouTube page.
I think it's Don Pierce.
So no one had any kind of legitimate comments. They just talked about whatever that was.
Yeah, pretty much.
Was that a response?
Next one, though?
Was that a response to that guy?
No, that was just a straight comment, like a new comment.
I feel like he saw the 5 words that the first guy typed and was like, I know more than 5.
Let me expound upon this
No, the
thought.
sequencing of them, we're not going to take really much into consideration with that.
That's interesting. I would have thought that somebody would try a little harder than that to
maybe someone
be coherent.
They went backwards in time, were controlling a toddler body, so they didn't have the motor function to type.
I still think one of those people has actually been through what happened in the book. I think
it's
that's
probably
what we're dealing
Jeremy
with here.
Anderson.
Not, I am not 19, adult mode.
Don't want to grow old and die. I mean, when you put it that way, yeah.
I mean, I guess not. Yeah.
If it's something you want or don't want, nobody's like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm so fucking old.
I can't wait to die.
But if I do die, I'm going to say cheese beforehand.
I'm really excited to hear what this is like for the next round.
Yeah, you should be.
We'll get to next week. That's all the Goosebumps we can pack into one episode. It's been more than I thought, actually. So
well more, yeah.
Yeah, we did a good job dragging this out. We'll see if we can come back and have what's the word I'm looking for here?
Goosebumps.
Have an encore. We're going to have a Goosebump encore next week, and it's going to be careful what you wish for. So be careful what you wish for. The Boob Tube Boys is a Boob Tube Inc. production. If you like what we do, head on over to patreon.com/BoobTubeInc, where just $2 a month will get you access to a whole library of bonus episodes the general public will never get to hear. Be sure to find us online. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and our website, boobtubeboys.com. You can also connect with us individually on Twitter.
Van is at Manly Van Lee. Brian is at Loud Guitar Brian. And Spencer is at the number 3 French_hen. Thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate your support.
For a scare.